Welcome to Travel Secrets with me, Tanya Rose, the podcast that shares wisdom for fellow travellers. Each week, I ask my guests to reveal their 6 travel secrets and the holidays and adventures that surround them. I would just like to say thank you to Mason Rose, the sales and communication agency that represents some of the finest hotels around the world, for partnering with Travel Secrets, the podcast. Today, my guest is the wonderful British actress, Keeley Hawes, famed for so many amazing performances from Ashes to Ashes, Spooks, Line of Duty, Very Good Mom as a Home Secretary in The Bodyguard, where I think every single week, everyone in my office was like, she's still alive, she's coming back, We were very upset you didn't, actually. The Durrells, which was just amazing, and most recently in Miss Austen, which is the most charming, lovely, and I don't know, is it a true story?
Yes. It's based on a true story.
Is it? Well, it's a lovely story.
Jill Hornby, brilliant author. It's based on a book that she wrote called Miss Austen, and it is about the Austen sisters and Cassandra, who's Jane's sister. And Cassandra went about. We do know that it's based in truth. She went about collecting Jane's personal correspondence after Jane's death, and I think she destroyed about 70% of it. There's still about 30% remaining, but anything that was too personal, she got rid of. And we think that it was about keeping Jane's legacy, about her work, rather than her personal.
Well, it's actually so relevant to today, isn't it? Of how much people share, and are you known as an actress or are you known as your personal life? And it's
extraordinary, the foresight that
really
she couldn't possibly have known that we'd be doing podcasts and we'd be talking about our thoughts or our travel or our feelings or our or social media, And we do. We live in a world where everybody, the assumption is that we all want to share everything all the time, and it's not the case.
No, we don't. But today we're going to share travel secrets.
Today we're going to share travel secrets.
Yes,
which is lovely. I love to hear other people's travel secrets
and write them down and say, I want to go there. So
yes.
Before we get into the travel secrets, can you just tell us a bit about yourself and how travel has impacted the person that you've become?
Gosh, travel has become a massive part of my life. I grew up in a working class family in very central London, late 70s and 80s, at a time when people, certainly from where I came from, didn't go on holiday, didn't go abroad once or twice a year. Yeah. It wasn't a thing. And then there was that explosion in the 80s of people going to Spain. People
cheap
started to, the cheap flights and the package holidays and the whole 1830s. I mean, I wasn't old enough for that. But it became a thing that, people would travel. And still, our family... We didn't travel a lot. We went to Cornwall. I remember very clearly a holiday in Cornwall when I was about 7. And then we had a holiday to Corfu. So Corfu, having read My Family and Other Animals, was suddenly brought to life in a way that, I can't even, I can hardly describe it, going from the pages of that book to Corfu, having not really travelled anywhere else, certainly not out of the country.
So that was when you were younger, before you even made the Durrells?
Oh, well, I was 11.
Oh, wow.
So I read the book and we went on this family holiday to Corfu. And I remember it... it's sort of visceral. I remember it so clearly. And then, of course, later on, I played Mrs. Durrell, and back we went to Corfu. And so I feel so fondly of it. I already had a fondness for it, and I had been back since I was 11. But then I was so lucky to spend 4 years.
I was going to say, did you actually spend 4 summers there.
We spent 4 summers
How wonderful.
On Corfu during the summer holidays. Mostly it was within the summer holidays, thereabouts. So the children were able to come over. It was a perfect job. So we would do 6 weeks on location at that beautiful house, that beautiful Venetian, extraordinary, which you can now it's an Airbnb.
Is it?
The Durrells house is on the Thinking Traveller. Oh, wow. And you can rent it out.
How fabulous.
It was totally, we couldn't use any of the interiors when we were there, but slowly but surely they have renovated it.
I was going to say it was a bit shabby.
It was a bit shabby. But the terrible thing was that as the family were, I think, sort of earning a little bit of money from renting it to us, they were starting to do things to the house. So we would return in the spring,
it was looking better,
and something was, which was not what we wanted at all.
Yes, no. Can you just?
So by the end of it, some of those cracks were painted back on the house, and but I'm very pleased that it has actually been brought back to.
And did your children, you said, come with you?
So the children would come out because it was the holidays.
How fantastic!
And then they would recreate the interiors we shot at Twickenham Studios or Ealing Studios, and so all the interiors were shot in the winter in the UK, and very cleverly we were tanned up, and some nice warm lights blasted through us. But literally, some of those scenes were we would shoot on an actor with the sea behind them and the view behind them over my shoulder of me just standing in the doorway of the actual house in Corfu, and then 3 months later we'd be shooting past that actor.
So clever.
It's so clever. It looks like the simplest show in the world. It looks very straightforward. But actually, logistically and technically, it was quite a feat.
Did you find Corfu very different when you went back filming to when you were 11? Because it had, time had passed. Has it become much more touristy, or is it still as charming? Because I haven't been to Corfu for about 30 years, but I remember having the best holiday when we went there.
Yes, I think like anywhere, there are parts of it that have become more touristy. It's inevitable, but it's not a big party island. No. People don't go. It's not a big sort of hens and stag do.
I think a lot of families go there,
I think
lovely.
A lot of families go there, and Corfu town. A lot of cruise ships come into Corfu town. Corfu town is a UNESCO World Heritage site. It's absolutely beautiful,
it really is.
and out of season Corfu, I would say, it goes on until the good weather lasts until October.
Yes, exactly.
So if you catch it out of season,
it's perfect.
It's perfect.
Well, let's go into your travel secrets, because this is obviously a very good travel tip that you're saying go out of season to Corfu, because there aren't the cruise ships and the weather is still lovely. But what is the number one destination that you think everybody should go to once in their lifetime?
I think it's a very tricky question. It's a great question. And I've sort of landed on Iceland.
Oh, really?
Yes, I'm sort of obsessed with Iceland. I've been 3 times. I haven't been loads, but I went first with Matthew, and I had seen this episode of Beyond the Lobby on Iceland, and there's a hotel which used to be a power station. And it sounds awful. It sounds like that shouldn't work at all. And it's this brutalist building in the south, in the middle of nowhere. So we first went and we stayed at the Iron Hotel. It's ION hotel in the south of Iceland, and it had been the power station for Iceland. And then they built another one, which you can actually see from what is now this hotel, which also doesn't sound. It doesn't sound
as
like
if
a
it's going to have a
beautiful
lovely view.
location. But actually, within the landscape, it is so extraordinary. And there's a pipe. I mean, you must have been to Iceland a lot, but there's a pipe that runs over the land down to Reykjavik that takes the water, the thermally heated water from inside the earth and down straight into people's showers. And they have to cool it down before it comes out of the shower.
Because it's so hot.
Because it's so hot. The geothermal water is so hot.
I've never been to Iceland.
Oh, have you not?
No.
Oh, sorry. That was an assumption that
No,
I shouldn't.
I mean, but I now want to go.
And every tap just says, please drink the tap water. There's no bottled water because there doesn't need to be, because the water that comes out of the taps is so pure it's never seen the inside of a plastic bottle. So you are showering in this water and drinking this water that is straight from the earth. And I fell in love with it. The people, the landscapes, the way of life, the humour. It's quite a dark humour, which I really enjoy.
So Brits get that.
We really get it, yes. And it's sort of in this odd place that is between London and New York. So there are lots of Americans and lots of Brits, which is quite a nice combination. And lots of Icelandic people who are wonderful.
Have you ever filmed there?
I haven't filmed there. I'm
just
desperate to film there. Yes, and you have to be quite well organised, and having a tour guide is something that I would say is essential. Actually, if you're only going for 3 or 4 days, you can basically pack everything in, all the touristy things, which don't actually feel like touristy things because you're not queuing up to do them. You can get to, we snorkeled between the tectonic plates, which is something you can do. And actually, there are only 6 of you there.
Nice.
It's not like some tourist destinations where you go and
what else do you do
those things
in Iceland? So you do the swimming?
You can do the swimming. What else did we do? The geysers. Yes, you have to do the geysers. Yeah. But if you have a tour guide, they will take you to, they will take you in these huge jeeps with these sort of, 7-foot wheels, and they'll take you off road, which is the most exciting thing. And so you're bouncing through, rivers and going up mountains into places. You can find places where it feels like there isn't another soul on the planet. That's a tip for later on. But a guide is always important. Good. And of course, there's the Blue Lagoon, which is a sort of must-do, really, and very close to the airport. And you smell it before you see it, the sulphur. But you do get used to that. And actually, it's quite nice. It's just a natural smell,
and it's very different.
It's very different. It's just different.
Did you go in the summer when it was light?
We did. Yeah. Yes. I've been in the summer months. But the Blue Lagoon, you can go for a day, or you can go and stay in the hotel. And the hotel is extraordinary. And we found out about the hotel because they shot one day of Succession.
Oh, did
there? Yes, Jeremy Strong's character goes there for rehab. So they went literally for a day to shoot at the Blue Lagoon, and he had a couple of scenes there. And he went back to the cast and said, "Oh my God!" A lot of what we've done is based on where a lot of our travels are based on recommendations from Succession. So.
Good.
Yes. That's what we like.
So, where did they go in Succession?
So that's where they went.
Was this worth going to, Matthew? Please.
Yes, I think generally they're all worth going to.
And actually, a friend of mine worked on that show, Emily Fitzroy.
Yes. Well, Emily. We'll get on to that.
Okay, yes. We'll get on to that.
Yes.
We're jumping the gun.
Everyone needs Emily Fitzroy.
Yes, everyone needs Emily Fitzroy in their life.
In their contacts.
Let's go on to your most unexpected travel experience.
Actually, it's still in Iceland. I most recently went with my son, Miles. And he is very into nature, and he's a big bird watcher, and we wanted to go and see some whales. So we timed it to try and do all of those things, and we went off for a trip together. And it's something that I've been trying to do with my children as they've got a little bit older, is to spend a little bit of time with them somewhere that they would like to go one-on-one. And so Miles said, I'd love to go to Iceland. So off we went. But it was quite recently, it was last year, and the eruption started. So our trip was quite well timed and everything was fine. We did a bit of traveling, Had a lovely time, saw the whales, ticked off lots of bucket list things, and had one last night at the Blue Lagoon and started to feel the tremors. And it's not unusual for people in Iceland. You know, they're very relaxed about it. This is quite a frequent, you know, but it is quite something if you haven't, and Miles haven't felt it before. I was actually in Corfu when we had an earthquake one morning, which is also unexpected.
Yes, unexpected.
And not a huge one, but enough that we all felt it, and it was quite unusual. But by the end of our trip in Iceland, people were starting to be evacuated from the hotel, and we made our way to the airport early. But vases were falling off. The water, it was extraordinary to be somewhere during that time where there is a body of water, because the water starts to move like you're in a pool with a wave machine. So we were watching
really
this, and all the little rocks are starting to fall down into the lagoon. And at the same time, at the same time as being terrifying, it's hugely exciting and sort of quite life. Again, it's visceral. You really feel, there's so much about Iceland that makes you feel really alive, you know, from the water coming straight out of the earth into your glass to being shaken around, you know, and they're all taking it in their stride.
Oh, another one.
Another one. But this one was quite a big one. Wow. And over the next couple of weeks after we got home,
thank goodness you got out when you did.
Yes. So the timing was lucky for us, but people were then evacuated.
And your son probably remembers that forever.
Forever. I mean, I'll know. It's sort of impossible to describe, you know, and of course there's the Northern Lights, and there's an alarm system, so you can go to bed quite happily because you don't see them every night, and you get a call. The hotel calls you if they have appeared. So you get an alarm at 3 a.m. saying, it's a recorded alarm saying, go to the roof. The Northern Lights have appeared. So everybody goes running up in their pajamas, you know, in their dressing gown, and you all stand on the roof of the hotel and
they are extraordinary, aren't they?
And they are extraordinary.
The Aurora Borealis.
The Aurora Borealis.
Amazing.
Yes. So we saw the Northern Lights.
That is very unexpected.
So it was all very unexpected.
What is your most overrated or underrated? And this is hard because people don't like to say something that's overrated, but you can say underrated as well.
No. I think my most underrated experience is, well, there are two things that I thought of. One, and probably lots of people have said this as well, but it's a good old-fashioned British holiday. And we found, it was after lockdown, we booked somewhere, I think we still couldn't really travel anywhere, but we wanted to get out of the house. And we went to Herefordshire, and just as a family. And we had, it was a week where the weather was, you know, we were blessed with good weather, and it was just absolutely heaven. And we jumped in the car, and just a car journey can be quite memorable. You know, the kids were that bit older, so it wasn't a nightmare. We had the dogs, we had the stuff. Everyone was in. We're all quite tall in our family. We all got in. And we just had, and then Matthew's mum came along and joined. She was able to come and join us because, you know, she could drive there. And we just had, I think the UK generally can be quite underrated. I saw a brilliant documentary about Scotland, about the it's a bit like the Wild Atlantic Way, but the Scottish one, the Scottish version, the route. And I was really inspired to go and do that. Yeah. You know, as well, and I'd love to do the Atlantic route as well in Ireland. And we also went to Pett Level quite recently, which is it's 10 minutes, a 10-minute drive from Rye.
Oh, lovely.
And they actually filmed a bit of Miss Austen there. The beach scenes are at this beautiful location called Pett Level.
They have got beautiful beaches down there, haven't they?
Absolutely beautiful. And again, if you get a few days of good weather, I think it is underrated, you know, and we aren't always blessed with the weather, and I totally understand. And I'm the first person to start looking up flights, you know, when the weather's been bad for so long. But when we do get a bit of sunshine and the sun does come out, I mean,
there's nowhere lovelier.
There's nowhere
beautiful.
lovelier. But I also think another thing that I thought of was a guide is underrated, and it's not something that Matthew and I have ever really done until we went recently to Florence. We didn't have very long in Florence. We'd never done it, and it was actually a tip from Emily, who said, "Let me introduce you to this lady, Anna, and she'll show you as much as she possibly can in a morning in Florence." And it was another world, completely fascinating. She was so knowledgeable, and you just get straight to the heart of everything. Yeah. You're not wandering around with a guidebook trying to, we came out of it with our brain feeling like our brains had expanded.
Did she take you to that secret corridor that the
She took us to the secret corridor. Yeah. We went to, and just the history and the knowledge. And so we did that again. Actually, we got a guide. I was lucky enough to work for 5 months last year in Athens. Can't stay away from Greece. So Matthew came over, and again, we didn't have very long, and we had a guide for a morning, and I think it's really worth throwing a bit of your budget at a guide for a few hours, and you get so much out of it.
What were you filming in Athens?
So I was filming a show that's called The Assassin. And it's written by Jack and Harry Williams, who I did The Missing with.
Oh, yes, which was amazing.
Quite a long time ago now. And they've more recently written The Tourist with Jamie Dornan. So tonally, I would say it's more like The Tourist than The Missing. It is about an assassin who I play. So I had quite a fun year. I played Cassandra Austen, and an assassin, kind of in the same space of a year, and I'm about to play a nun. So I've gone from an assassin to a nun. So,
very different.
It's
roles.
very different. Yeah. It's a great job.
Never a dull moment.
There's never a dull moment.
Let's go on to food and drink. Food and drink is so important as part of travel.
Yes,
we all love food. We all love drink. What's your favourite drink? What's your favourite restaurant? What do you like eating? Where do you like eating? Let's just talk about that.
I think the food in London has gone through the roof. We weren't always known for our culinary delights, were we? But I think it's some of the best in the world. There is a restaurant, and it was a recommendation again from Emily, and it's called the Stanza restaurant. And Matthew and I had gone on this Italian trip, partly because I was very jealous of his Italian trip with the Succession guys, and I couldn't go and visit because it was during COVID. It was after, it's just sort of post-COVID, but still you weren't allowed to travel. So they were going all over, they were having this fantastic time, and he was saying, "Oh my God, you'd love it. He would love it here," and I wasn't able to go. And I'm never really keen on set visits. It's a bit of a busman's holiday. Yeah. But when it came to that,
to Italy,
I was like, okay, I would like to have gone. So he said, "Well, we'll go back," and so we did go back, and we started at Lake Como, and then we had a couple of days in Milan, and then we went to Florence, and we went to this restaurant called Stanza, and you have to book. But you are sat with whoever else is sitting at the tables. So it's a lovely communal kind of experience. And we were sat next to a young couple who had just got engaged. And so we were sort of sharing their, sitting, chatting.
Were they English?
To them. They were American. And we had butter chicken and artichoke. They're famous for their butter chicken.
Delicious.
And artichoke and strawberry semifreddo, and very simple, but absolutely out of this world. And I'm not a big foodie. I love food, and I appreciate good food, but this was my sort of. It wasn't fussy,
simple
but
and delicious.
Simple and delicious, exactly that, and really stayed with us. We often sort of reminisce and talk about that chicken. Yes. So
where else did you go on your Italian trip?
So we started in Lake Como, and we were, I mean, we feel incredibly lucky about everywhere that we're able to travel to. But we stayed at a hotel called Passalacqua,
which is one of my clients.
Which is one of yours. And it is one of the most beautiful places. The setting, the interiors, the pool, the staff, the food, just that location, it is mind-blowingly beautiful. Everything about it. There's a spa. It's a small spa, and they have something called the heat experience, and you can book that, and it's not very long. It's sort of half an hour each booking, and there's a sauna and a steam. But it's again one of the most beautiful locations I've ever seen, and they have a boat, and so you go out on a trip onto the lake, and just absolutely stunning.
It takes your breath away, and
it really does.
The owner has got such exquisite taste,
and you feel like you're staying with. It doesn't feel like a hotel. Yeah. That's the trick, and I think if you can make that work, you immediately feel relaxed. You don't have to spend any time of your holiday getting into the period of relaxation. You immediately feel relaxed and like you're staying at a friend's,
a very rich,
very wealthy friend's house.
but in a very relaxed way. In fact, I was staying at Passalacqua when you and Matthew were there, and it was the night that it was the last episode of Succession, and it was who was going to get the gig, basically. And I was watching it, and I knew you were staying there. And I was so desperate to say, so who gets it? And then I thought, no, I can't possibly. And I watched it, and he's the man. I luckily didn't see him at breakfast the next morning, otherwise I would have had to say something. But Passalacqua got voted the best hotel in the world last year.
It doesn't surprise me. It is up there, I would say, with, in the top 3 hotels that we've ever been to and had the pleasure of. Just absolutely, and the weather wasn't even brilliant the week that we were there, which made it sort of even better, because it just meant that we could stay in that beautiful room and really appreciate it, and looking out of the window at that view. And there's also, the food, you don't really have to leave the hotel, but if you do, there's a little pathway, and you walk up. It goes up just at the back, literally at the back of the hotel. And there's a little pizza restaurant where the locals go. So if you want to have a night out, you grab your umbrella if it's raining, which it was when we were there, and you go up the hill past a little church. It's a tiny little square, and there's a restaurant, and full of local people with one of the best pizzas.
I didn't know about that.
Ever.
So I'm going in May. Yeah, May. I shall be wandering up that hill and looking for the pizzeria.
And go to the pizzeria.
So you said it's one of your top 3. What are the other 2?
Last year we went to a hotel called Hotel Esencia.
Oh, in Mexico.
In Mexico, yes. And again, it used to be it used to be owned by an Italian duchess, and it is now owned by Kevin Wendell, who is a producer in Hollywood, who I think he bought a chateau in France and started having people to stay, and friends would say, you're really good at this. And so he then decided that actually he really enjoyed that, and then expanded and bought and created Hotel Esencia. And again, it does that trick of making you feel at a friend's house. Fantastic. And you feel immediately at home. And there's a little cove. There's something you can do, and they encourage you to do when you're there. There's a little natural cove, which is a 10-minute walk from the hotel, but still within the grounds. And someone takes you, and you go and you get into the water, and you can either get in a little canoe or you can snorkel. And it's a natural cove, and the manatee swim with you. So it is this extraordinary, otherworldly experience. I'll give it to you as one of the photographs.
Lovely.
And they come swimming up to you. And again, we were at that time we were the only people there swimming with them. So that was another unexpected moment, because you're not guaranteed to see them because they're wild animals.
Yeah.
But they come up, they're very, very gentle, and they have a little investigation of you, and then they swim off, and you come out gasping with joy, and
amazing.
it's miraculous. So there's also that there.
And what's your third?
What is my third? Oh, Clivedon's quite nice.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Gorgeous.
I feel
beautiful.
very, very fondly of Clivedon, and it's been through many iterations over the years. And
have you ever
owners,
filmed there?
And I haven't filmed there, actually. People are always filming there,
Yes,
aren't
they're
they?
doing lots there. I mean,
I
it's a bit
don't
like
think I have.
Downton Abbey. What's it called? Highclere. That it reminds me of what you were talking about with the Durrells, where you said as they got more money from the thing, it got better. And I think Highclere was the same. It's such an amazing palace or whatever.
Yes.
And as Downton got more and more famous,
It
the rooms
started to go.
were like, no,
Yeah,
don't make
do
it too
that.
glamorous, please.
No.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I think, I mean, I feel very fondly of it. We went there a bit when the children were little, you know, and there's so much history with that pool.
Yeah, the
and,
pool
you know,
is so
Christine
beautiful.
Keeley,
Yeah.
you know, there's the stories that come with it.
Absolutely.
And again, out of season when the National Trust members
Are not walking
there,
around.
Are not walking. Oh God, that sounded terribly snobby, didn't it? I mean, I am a National Trust, but you know, on a quiet day when the weather's not at its peak, you know, those grounds are
incredible.
extraordinary.
What is your most poignant travel memory?
Being in Corfu with my family, and then having the experience that I've had later on in my life, and revisiting in the way that I've been lucky enough to do, but being there and you know, flying for the first time, sitting next to my father, who wasn't a huge traveller. I mean, I'm not sure he had even flown at the point when we made that trip, and I remember sitting next to him. And being on the flight, so that's quite.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah,
he's
no
cabbie,
longer with
wasn't
us.
he?
He was, yes, yeah,
Fantastic.
he was, and I have a very clear memory of sitting on an airplane and thinking, oh my God, wow. You know, you lose that. You know, we all lose that. We travel, we take it for granted. Everybody's on flights all the time, and I think, you know, it's good to remember just how special it is, you know, that we can.
We are so lucky, and we do take it for granted. And actually, we're always even grumpy about it. You know, there's too many people at the airport, and there's too many this and that. And actually, when you step back and think, we're going from this country to another place, and we're so lucky.
Yes, we are. That just reminded me, I did a show called The Midwich Cuckoos with lots of children. There were two sets of children, different ages, playing the same parts. And I did a scene with a little boy, and his character name was Joe, and he was a wonderful actor, and we had to hold hands and sort of, and we were getting ready to go for the take, and we held hands and we got ready for action. And he looked up at me and he said, God, isn't this great? And I thought, actually, yes, it is. It's great. Wow, this is so great. And
So
I thought, you know, we all lose that. I mean, you know, I'm reminded quite often of my job when I'm sitting in Athens, or having a lovely time with people. I'm not unaware of how lucky I am. But it's that thing, you know, we do need to remind ourselves.
We're incredibly lucky.
And looking at it through the eyes of that little girl, you know, sort of seeing it for what it was for the first time.
Yes,
the
we have
delight,
to remember that.
the taking off. You think, my God, the thrill of travel is just unlike anything else.
And you've filmed a lot in Greece, and obviously you did the Durrells and you've done the Athens. Have you travelled a lot for work, or have you done most stuff here?
I have done most of my stuff, but weirdly, and not by design, when the children were growing up, Matthew travelled much more than I did. My work was mainly based here, and then as they got a bit older, I did start to travel, but not not a huge amount, which has been great.
Nice.
While the
and you have
children
never
were
lived in
around.
LA or New York?
No. I'm a fan of LA. I mean, I know it's not for everybody, and I'm not sure I would like to live there. It's certainly a particular way of life, isn't it? But there's a lovely positivity that comes from the people there, and sunshine 365 days of the year. There's a lot to be said for that.
I mean, I haven't been since the fires, so I'm going to go back, and obviously I'm sure it will be a marked difference. But people who I know have been said, unless you go to the Palisades and things area, life is continuing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was with some people from LA last week. I actually went to Austin to the film festival in Texas last week.
Oh, did you?
And
Richard
that's a place
was there
I'd
as
never
well,
been.
wasn't he?
Lots
Richard
of
E.
people
Grant was
coming
there.
in and
Yeah.
out. And Matthew had done a film called Holland with the lovely Nicole Kidman, and so they had a screening of that there, and I was on my way to New York to do some press for Miss Austen, so I sort of jumped on board, and it's fantastic, really unexpected.
People love Austen.
But yeah, I really have you.
I haven't. Lots of people talk to me about it, and they say the music scene is fantastic
It's
there.
just such
And the art.
a great, just culturally really exciting, great energy, and to be there with the film festival, obviously that made a difference. But a really exciting place.
Have you been to the Venice Film Festival?
I haven't. No.
Because we have a hotel opening next year, right next to the Cipriani.
Okay.
Called Les Durrells, and it's going to be like Passalacqua. It's an old palazzo, and the garden is bigger than the Cipriani's garden. Okay. And if you are going for the film festival or not, you must go and stay, because I think it's absolutely your type of hotel.
Yes, lovely. I mean, it's lovely to go to places for work,
but it's nicer.
Nicer to go.
Much nicer to go.
And also it's lovely. It's always very telling when you go for work and then you go back because you've enjoyed it so much.
Absolutely. And finally, I asked you to bring a photo or some photos.
Yes.
That sum up travel. Can you just tell us about the photos and tell us what they mean to you?
There's a photograph from, there's a Passalacqua, there's a photo of the other place in Florence, and I don't know actually if this is one of yours, the Villa San Michele.
Oh, it's a beautiful hotel on the
yes
hill.
I've got a photograph of both of us with the view behind terrible selfie with the view behind us, which is again, I mean, magical.
Did you stay at the Villa San Michele?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes. We've stayed there a couple of times. Yeah. It was a repeat.
It's
a
repeat trip. Belmont, which was Orient Express.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Yes.
Really lovely. So before I let you go, what's next for you?
My next project is a 6-part TV show for Channel 4 called Falling, which has been written by Jack Thorne, which I'm very excited about. It's a love story, so it's as far away from adolescence as you can possibly get, and it's a love story between a nun and a Catholic priest.
How wonderful!
Yes, so I'm very excited about that.
And
that's in
have
Wales.
you filmed that? I was going to say, where did that get filmed?
Yes. So we start shooting in April.
Where in Wales are you filming?
In Wales, I don't actually know. This is the great thing about my job. They just say, we're going there. Then you know,
hopefully the
off
weather
you
will
go.
be nice.
I know.
Wales
I know.
in the
I
rain.
do have to get in the sea, Western Supermare. But I'm actually not opposed to a cold dip these days.
Have you ever done one of these wellness things where you do that cold water swimming?
I'm not cold water swimming, and I'm a little bit loath to share this because it's we loved it so much. But have you been to? I also feel guilty not sharing it. The ADLER Lodge in the South Tyrol.
No.
Well, it's as close to a wellness holiday
that you want to do.
That I would want to do, and it is. It's on the border. It's in the South Tyrol, so it's borders Germany and Austria, and so. But it has all the best bits of all of them, and and these outdoor saunas and steam rooms, and this whole experience that you can go on, and then you go walking in the most beautiful countryside, tiny little train that goes along, and so you can jump on that into the nearest town, which again is this just picture perfect, beautiful, just a couple of restaurants, but the food is sort of Italian and but it feels quite Germanic in its way that they look after you, and you go and get saunaed and scrubbed.
I actually do like that Teutonicness, I must say. I go to a fasting clinic every January, and there's one in Marbella and there's one in Lake Constance, and I go to the German one because I need that discipline.
Yes.
I think if I went to Marbella, I'd want to go and have a cappuccino on the beach and a pizza.
It's very hard, isn't it? Yeah, because you get pulled into the...
Yeah.
So, but actually this has the best of all worlds. And I would highly recommend it. And the air is just...
So although that's a wonderful travel secret for us, it's something you don't really want to share. But thank you so much for sharing it with us. I can't wait to see you as a nun.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to seeing you as an assassin.
Looking forward to seeing me in my wimple. I don't know. I'll carry that off, but it should be fun. It's such a beautiful story, and again, it's like Miss Austen. It's a story about love and what it is to be human, I think.
So
love
wonderful.
in its many forms.
Well, I hope to send you to many wonderful places around the world. We may bump into each other at
Yes,
Passalacqua
and
again.
please.
I will definitely come and say hello this time. And it's been a joy and delight to meet you and go around the world with you. Thank you so much, Keeley.
Thank you so much for having me.